right, so we are now in POV mode, and it's looking a little bit rainy today, but it's gonna be okay. It rained a little bit earlier. The roads are definitely a little damp, not gonna be able to go too crazy on it today, but still gonna have some good talks, have a little fun, hear some engine noises. So first, let me get this straight. I did not learn on this car, like I said in the intro. And what I mean by that is, I mean when I had my permit. So when I had my permit, I learned on a Mark 8 Volkswagen GTI. That was the first car that I drove on a real road, and it was pretty much the only car that I drove throughout my learning experience. Now, it was a decent car to learn on before this because it does have a dual clutch, so it's something a little different than a automatic. It has a little bit of power to it, a little bit of torque. It is a sporty car, it's a hatchback. I mean, it's not a regular economy car. I mean, as much as I want to call it one, it really isn't, because it's got 240 horsepower and 280 torque or something, whatever it is. That's pretty quick, you're moving. So yeah, I did get to learn on that. I did get to take it in the back roads and have fun with it with my dad. Really, that's really awesome. I'm grateful that I was even able to do that, because I know a lot of people had whiny parents that didn't even let them go touch over the speed limit. So yeah, that's what I learned on. Now, where this car comes into the picture is around September this year, which is when I get my driver's license, and I'm not even supposed to like have this car for a while. I'm supposed to just have the GTI and drive that around for a while and get used to driving. But after about a couple weeks, I was able to convince my dad to let me keep this, and to be completely honest, he really likes the GTI and he still drives it to this day. My dad does plan on getting a car that is much faster in the near future, so that car will either stay and we'll get to enjoy it for a little longer, or it might go. So because of that, he let me slowly drive this car. So the first time I ever drove this car was the Friday after, the first Friday after we bought it. My dad took me out to the back roads and he just parked, switched seats, and he let me take it around my little loop. And I was so scared because this car's got 450 horsepower and it's rear wheel drive, and it was totally sunny. It was sunny outside, it was totally fine. I could have floored it pretty much whenever and I would have been just fine. But coming from a GTI with only about 250 horsepower and that wasn't rear wheel drive was really scary, but I had a blast. It was so much fun. I didn't do more than 3/4 throttle at all at any point during that. But that was the first time I ever drove this thing, and I did also learn how to park it. But now the fun stuff. Well, for me, not so fun. At first, I was only allowed to drive this car to work, and that was it. And even before that, I had to practice driving to work with my dad. And also, I couldn't drive it to work when it was rainy. So it pretty much had to be like, it had to fall under perfect circumstances, like good weather, the right place to drive it, and that was it. And you know what? I'll take it. I was 16 years old and I was able to drive a 2022 Ford Mustang GT to work. Why not? That's really cool. But the deal was, I would slowly practice driving to new places, and every weekend or other weekend we would practice going to the back roads, and I would learn all the nuances to a car with this much power. I say a car with this much power. In the world of cars, it's not actually that, it doesn't have that much power. It's 450. It's but it's enough to wrap yourself around a tree if you do it, if you step on it at the wrong time in the wrong place. So I did have to learn about that and practice in the back roads and see what I can do and what I can't do. And eventually, and surprisingly, it actually came sooner than I thought, I'm able to drive this thing wherever I want. I'm able to drive it in the city, I can drive it on the highway, I can drive it tight parking spots, it doesn't even matter. And it was a long journey to get here, but I'm finally here. I'm able to drive this thing whenever I want, and it's so awesome. I'm so grateful that I get to drive this thing all the time. I mean, just the other day, I was a little stressed out, and I just was coming home and I just kept going. I took this way, I went to these back roads, and I just ripped it. I went crazy back here, and it was just so much fun. I just couldn't do that in many other cars that I could have had instead of this. But now, this car is an automatic, has the automatic 10-speed, and just a Mustang GT with the 10-speed review. It was definitely very odd to get used to, having 10 gears. Like, when you're upshifting, you'll just go through so many gears, and not even just that, like when you're just driving normally like this, I always put it in sport mode because I just cannot deal with drive mode. It'll put you in like 10th gear at 40 miles an hour, and it's just, I don't know, it's for gas mileage, but I just don't like it. I like putting in sport mode, and whenever I want to use the paddles I can. If I don't want to, I can hold it down and it'll go back to its automatic mode, and since I have it in sport, it keeps the revs a little bit higher, which I like most of the time, unless it's like super rainy and all that, and I'll gotta be really gentle with the throttle. But sometimes I do wish this was a manual. But what keeps me from whining and complaining about it not being one is just the fact that it doesn't come with the greatest manual of all time. I've heard not the greatest things about it. I've seen a bunch of people that'll say that if you get a Mustang GT, you have to get the manual. You're wasting your money if you get an automatic. I've also heard people say that the manual sucks. The gears are too long. The shifting feels a little disconnected. It doesn't feel great. It feels soft. And because of that, I'm not too upset. And once you get to know this 10-speed, it is really fun. You can use the paddles, and once you get warmed up, the paddles are pretty responsive. Really, really fun. I have no problems with it, no issues. I plan on keeping this car for as long as I can. I want to pay it off as soon as possible, keep it for as long as I can, maybe potentially add some mods to it. Whipple would be pretty sick one day in the future. I would love that, but obviously not right now. I've already got enough. I'm still trying to tame this thing. Now, parking this car was a little bit of a difficulty for me. Well, not for me, it was just a little bit hard. So with this car, I chose to back up almost all the time when I first started driving it, because this car doesn't have front sensors. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably making fun of me right now, complaining about my car not having front sensors, because most cars on the road don't. But it is a newer car, and a lot of newer cars do have that. And both the cars that I've ever driven before this did have them. And honestly, if it's a newer car, it should have it, because it's just such a great option. But this car only had rear sensors and a backup camera, so I chose to back up all the time. But it was hard. Parking in forward was really, really hard with this car. It's already hard enough in other cars, but it's just got such a long nose, and you just gotta swing it out wide and cut it in. It's just so I didn't like it, so I chose to back in all of the time. Let's see if we can get a little bit of beans right here. Nice. Just a little bit. I'm afraid to do anything too crazy on these damp roads, but just a little bit of something so you guys can hear the engine noise. It sounds really good. This car does have the active exhaust option, which I think is essential for anybody that wants to buy this car. Let's do a long 4th gear pull, ease into it. I'm not gonna rev it out all the way, just a little pull. Just have fun, hear the engine, it's nice. Alright, we'll turn around here and we'll get back to talking. Another thing about this car that was a little bit difficult at first is that the brakes in this car, it being a muscle car, it doesn't even have the Brembos, but they are very grabby. I mean, they might not be that grabby compared to like a GT500 or something, but compared to a normal car that I've been driving, or normal car, these brakes feel very, very grabby. So slowing down, at first I would try to slow down a little bit and it would do that. And it just took a lot of time to adjust. So when I'm when driving this car, when you have a passenger, at first it was just a little bit rough. And that was just something I need to learn. And back to the parking, I remember I did use to just go to parking lots with my dad sometimes and just practice, or I would pick hard spots and try to practice and get better at it, because the truth is, parking this car versus my dad's Mark 8 GTI, it's a big difference. I remember on the driving test at the very end, they had you just park into a parking lot front way in, and it was so easy. That's cool. Maybe that was Mod Speed 3, it was D-badge. I couldn't tell. But yeah, eventually I got better and better. Now I park in forwards all the time. I back up sometimes. Just takes a little bit of getting used to. But yeah. But now for the stories. So this car being rear-wheel drive, and it's got a decent amount of power, it's V8, and I live in a state where it does get pretty cold in the winter, and I have made this car, you know, lose its back end a couple of times, just for a second. I don't even know if I would go as far as saying losing its back end, but it lost its back end a little bit. Like one time I decided to put it in second gear at like 30 miles an hour and just floor it, and my car went that way a little bit. I let off and it straightened out as I expected, and it was fine. But I feel like it's times like that where you need to really make sure you know like what these cars can do. Like if like that could have gone pretty bad. Luckily I let off and it ended up just being okay, but it could have ended up worse than it was. I'm not like a pro at driving this car. I'm not going to turn traction control off and slide around quarters or do 0 to 60 in the traction control. It doesn't even have there is no launch mode. So I still am a little bit conservative with the things I do in this car, but for the most part it's gotten better. I've gotten better at it. I know what I can do. So, and because of that, I haven't wrapped myself around a tree yet. Let's not jinx it. But that is all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you guys made it this far, please drop a like and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.